Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I am your host for the NFL Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-hosts. First up, from the FF Face-Off, Anthony Servino. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing awesome, Mike. How are you?
I'm not doing awesome, but I'm doing all right. And, of course, as always, our third wheel, Sam Teets. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing pretty good, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So now we hear all kind of people that are saying that the 49ers are really seriously considering Tom Brady. Peter King said that in his latest Football Morning in America column. What do you think, Anthony? Any validity here? And if there is it smart or is it stupid for the Niners?
I had this conversation with my co-host, Mike Hoff, on my show last night, who's a 49ers fan, and I think whether he wants to believe it or not, this is more real than people want to give credit to. And it's not only Peter King, but it's Tom Curran, who is, I believe, like an NBC beat writer reporter over in the New England area, that it's real, it's getting closer, they're closing in. And I think the big part here is when people are wondering, what about Jimmy Garoppolo's contract? They can release him with no repercussions to the cap, or at least very, very little, which makes this even more real. And I think what we forget, it during the Super Bowl or during that playoff run, there could be a little bit of a mistrust between Jimmy Garoppolo and his head coach with the way or the lack of the passing game used. So I think there's a lot of factors here to make this real.
All right. Do you think it would be a smart deal for the 49ers? I mean, it obviously would be a great deal for Tom Brady.
Short term, yes. Long term, no. Because long term, Brady thinks 3 years. I think this is more of a year-to-year thing for Tom Brady because he can always fall off that cliff. Could Tom Brady get them a championship and then retire? Okay, sure, but then what are you left with moving forward?
All right, Sam?
Yeah, this is a situation where I feel like if you get Brady, it's a 1 or 2 year thing, and that's your championship window, and after that, you can't really count on anything. But if you're the 49ers, like Anthony alluded to this, if you were to cut Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously you prefer to trade him, but if you had to cut him, that's only $4.2 million in dead cap. That's not a lot at all, considering that he's going to count for a $26.6 million cap hit if he's on the roster this year. So getting rid of Garoppolo actually is not that big of a deal. You could do that pretty easily. And, of course, you can close on Brady. If you look at Garoppolo's playoff numbers from this past year, 427 yards in 3 games, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. So not a good showing in the playoffs when they needed him most. We talked about how he came in and played clutch in several games during the regular season, but that didn't happen in the playoffs. And really, I think it depends on what the coaches think of him, what the front office thinks of him. Do they believe that he can be the guy to win you a Super Bowl? And the answer is no. And I think they're absolutely going to go all in on Tom Brady.
All right. Now, if they keep them both, it's a $49 million cap hit probably estimated. So I don't think they could keep them both. And so what's your take, Sam? Would this be a smart deal for the Niners? Just a yes or no answer.
Yeah. I would lean towards yes. There are certain players in NFL history that just change scenarios. They're just different than everyone else. Tom Brady is one of those guys. He's different than everyone else. So I would say yes.
Same question, Anthony. Yes or no? Smart move for the Niners?
Yes.
Okay. So it is worth maybe a Super Bowl ring as opposed to the next 10 years.
Go ask Denver Broncos fans. That's my answer to that.
Well, right now they may not like it. But this is the other thing, though. The Denver Broncos did not have somebody on board that could get you to the Super Bowl. They had to get Peyton Manning to get that far.
Yeah, but I don't know if Jimmy can win it.
Jimmy was there, and Jimmy had
so
the
was
game
Jared
won.
Goff.
Yeah, but Jimmy actually threw like touchdown passes in the game, And they actually had the lead and had outplayed the Chiefs for the first 3 quarters of that game. So it's not like the Jared Goff scenario. I mean, Garoppolo didn't play great in the Super Bowl, but he wasn't terrible in the Super Bowl. And I still think it was more of a coaching issue, which would still make me worry if he get back there again. But I think with Tom Brady, and the thing that's great here is if you look at this show, there's a picture, the main picture for this show is Tom Brady dressed up for Halloween in a Joe Montana San Francisco 49ers uniform. He is from the Bay Area. He grew up a San Francisco 49ers fan. So this would be huge for the NFL, wink, wink, if you know what I mean. And then the other question is this. Does Jimmy Garoppolo end up back in New England?
Absolutely.
How? Is it a trade or is it as a free agent?
I think what the Patriots are going to do, I think they're going to know that the 49ers, they probably can't carry that big of a cap hit at quarterback. So I think they'll, I think they'll sit back and wait for the release to happen. Or offer a second round back, offer the same kind of a deal. I don't think they're going to, offer more than what they gave.
How about this? With the quarterback market kind of saturated the way it is through free agency, that also drops down the value here on Garoppolo in a trade, doesn't it, Sam?
Yeah, because you look at a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, well, you've got Teddy Bridgewater's out there. Dak Prescott's probably going to be franchise tagged, but you don't know. He might get out there somehow. You've got Philip Rivers, Marcus Mariota, Ryan Tannehill. You've got a bunch of guys who could potentially be close to what Jimmy Garoppolo was this past year. So if you've got an opportunity at swinging the bat at Ryan Tannehill or Teddy Bridgewater, you might as well just do that instead of offering up a second or a first-round draft pick for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Anthony, do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a win for the 49ers, and I think Jimmy Garoppolo, he knows his best landing spot is back to New England.
Well, I don't know if that's the absolute best landing spot because we don't know what else they're going to sign. So he may be going back to a spot not nearly as good as what he was when he left it.
But he's familiar. He's familiar with the system and Belichick and McDaniels.
Well, I still think, and I mean, maybe he ends up a 49er. I think it would be great if he did. I still think he ends up a Tennessee Titan. But I think now there is an option here. And also, with an option comes the possibility of making even more money for Tom Brady, correct?
Well, what option?
Well, I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot of options for Tom Brady to go to right now. I think it's kind of like Tennessee, and that's it. So if you want to get paid a little bit more.
I'm seeing more and more reports that there are like 8 teams that are going to push for Tom Brady. Maybe some will be more serious than others, but it's Tom Brady. This is once in a lifetime. This is going to be the only chance an NFL team's going to get, and whatever their motive is. It could be they're like the 49ers, and they could be Tom Brady away with the team, and it could be like the Raiders, hey, we're moving to Vegas, we need to sell tickets. It could be, and the same with the Chargers.
Yeah, but Tom Brady doesn't want to go somewhere so you can sell tickets. Tom Brady's only going to go somewhere he can win a Super Bowl.
Right, but I'm just saying for the teams that are going to push for him.
Yeah, but I'm saying teams that
will
seriously
have motives.
I mean, if you're Tom Brady, do you take an extra $10 million to go to the Raiders, or would you take $10 million less to go win a Super Bowl?
No, I'm going to go win a Super Bowl to prove what I want to prove without Bill Belichick.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, Sam, I mean, Trevor Siemian's going to be available now, it looks like.
Yeah, it's this whole situation with the Patriots and with Brady, it's all just so weird. Cause for me, like, Brady's been on the Patriots my entire life, pretty much. So this is just a strange scenario, thinking that he could leave. But I don't see him going anywhere like Las Vegas. I don't understand those kind of motive at all, because I understand why the Raiders would go for it, but Brady's going to do what's best for him. Brady is, this time, considering only his best interest. He's not thinking about anyone else other than what he can do, where he can go, and where he can win a Super Bowl.
Well, and the great thing about this, though, he can set up the Patriots by wherever he goes. Because nobody's brought this up either, but if he goes to Tennessee, maybe New England can pick up Ryan Tannehill. If he goes to the Raiders, Derek Carr all of a sudden maybe becomes available. If he goes to the Niners, you get Jimmy Garoppolo. So right now, losing Tom Brady, as bad as it may seem for Patriots fans, 3 or 4 years from now, you may end up having the last laugh, Sam.
As we said, I don't think you can count on Brady much after the next 2 years. Once he hits 44, I start really questioning.
I don't think you can count on him for this next year. Because remember this, Anthony, if you remember, you always bring up Peyton Manning, but Peyton Manning went from 1 year throwing like 50 touchdown passes and 5,000 yards to the next year being hurt and throwing interceptions out the ass.
Right. And Brock Osweiler was out there winning games and getting himself paid for the next year.
So I will say this. I believe, and this is crazy for me to say, but I think that if I'm the 49ers, I stay with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo's only played 1 full year in the NFL. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo can possibly win them a Super Bowl. I think the bigger question is, can Kyle Shanahan get them in and win a Super Bowl? Because I still think if he wasn't out-coached by Andy Reid in Kansas City, that they'd have won the Super Bowl this year. So I would be really worried here about bringing in a 42-year-old guy who, to me, he's not what he was, but who's going to be at that age. But the question is there enough left there where he can go out-duel Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl? Because let's face it, if San Francisco does this, getting to the Super Bowl is a failure if you don't win it, because you just got there with Jimmy Garoppolo and you got another decade with Jimmy Garoppolo. If you do this with Tom Brady and you lose to Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl next year, which is probably what would happen, then what do you got?
No, I agree with your point here. I don't think there's a wrong way to look at this scenario. I think thinking with Garoppolo makes a lot of sense, honestly. The only reason why I'm leaning towards Brady is because it is Brady, and I feel like I've bet against Brady too many times, and it's always come back to burn.
See, I never have, so I could do it now, and it'd be all right because it'd be the first time.
I mean,
you know what you're talking about. I screwed up too many times. Now I got to stick with Brady.
But I've been alive long enough to know that no matter who you are, whether you're Johnny Unitas or Muhammad Ali or Michael Jordan, there comes a point where no matter how great you are, Father Time always wins. And remember this, we always talked that the reason Bill Belichick won is because he always got rid of guys a year before he should have. And, we've seen a lot of teams lose because they pick a guy up. The first year, they probably shouldn't. And do the 49ers have the way the 49ers run their offense is another thing that I would look at here. Does this fit Tom Brady?
Well, why not?
Why does it? Because this is a team that is based largely on RPOs. You've got Tom Brady, who is basically an option route quarterback. So the other question is, the 49ers with young guys like Deebo Samuel in them, are they able to read the routes the way Brady can read the routes? There's a lot of things that go into this when you switch a quarterback from one system to another, and I'm just asking, does Brady fit this system?
Here's something go on, Sam.
Like I said, it's going to be a huge adjustment for everyone involved, and I guess I'm starting to see what you're saying now. If you're 42 years old, Tom Brady, do you really have the time to make the adjustments with everyone else involved in that system to learn it all? You don't really have that season to experiment because you don't know when your time's going to run out.
Yeah, and it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, Anthony.
Well, here's the other part of it, and I think what we're glossing over, and it popped up, and George Kittle tweeted or Instagrammed today basically backing up his quarterback and Jimmy Garoppolo. How is the locker room going to take to a change?
Yeah, I'm telling you this. It'll take to the change just fine as long as Tom Brady comes there and kicks ass immediately. I'm just telling you, there are so many things that can go wrong here. There's more things that can go wrong than can go right. Now, maybe Tom Brady comes in, assimilates great, the culture is the same as what he's used to in New England, but I'll guarantee you it's not. Because it's hard to get the culture New England has. And that culture all comes from the head coach. There's no GM there, nothing else. And I'm telling you, this zone running game with the RPOs, that is not what Tom Brady does. I mean, have we seen Tom Brady do a whole lot of RPOs, Sam?
No, not that I can remember off the top of my head, at least.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. Back in 2000 when he was in college, I don't even know if RPOs existed yet, did they? Now, I'm not saying that he can't pick this up, but the one thing I will say is also this. What goes first on an athlete? It's their reflexes. Now, if he's got to make this read real quick, and then he's got to get the ball out real quick, I don't think this works. I think this offense, as crazy as it sounds, I think the 49ers have a better chance to win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo in this offense than they would with Tom Brady.
Is there a scenario you could see where the 49ers alter what they do offensively for Tom Brady? Is that a possibility, or is that just ludicrous?
I think it's ludicrous because when you look at them, their offense is built a certain way. I mean, basically, they took their offense with their running backs and with their wide receivers, and they got guys to run this RPO zone read scheme. And you would have to change a lot of things because, number one, Deebo Samuel, probably never been a big option route guy where he's got to read the backer and he's got to read the corner and maybe the safety all on the fly and make a decision and be exactly on pace with the quarterback because, you know, this year what I think we saw in New England was a lot of the issues were he had new receivers. And with new receivers in that offense, it's all right to change one guy every year. Maybe even two. But he had more than one or two he had to change because Julian Edelman was hurt most of the year. So he was pretty much done. So,
you know, not only
yeah.
he had new receivers and he had young receivers. And if you look at the 49ers wide receiver depth chart, Emmanuel Sanders, their veterans, a free agent, and everyone else, they're first and second year players.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just something to think about. I think there's a lot of things here that could go wrong. You know? So, Sam, any final thoughts on the situation?
No, I won't disagree with you. I think this is a scenario where if this did happen, you're kind of just swinging and you're seeing what can happen. You're really just taking a huge chance on the fact that it's Tom Brady and you're just buying into it being Tom Brady, really. That's all you're going to be doing. But now, I said at the beginning of the show that I would do it, but the more we've talked about it, the more thought I put into it, it seems like you're in a pretty good spot right now. I don't know why you want to uproot everything and just try to take this huge risk.
All right. Anthony, final thoughts on the Brady to 49ers?
I think if it happens, it's Super Bowl or bust. And that's my thought.
No, it's Super Bowl champions or bust.
That's what I mean. Win a Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah, that is the big problem there. Because that's a tall order for anybody. I mean, let's face it. Tom Brady's won how many Super Bowls? 6?
Yep.
Yeah.
So he won 6 in 20 years. That means more often than not, he failed to win the Super Bowl. And now you're going to take a 42 or 43-year-old man.
To be fair, you got to be a little bit more fair with that statement.
No, I don't, because the whole point of the statement is this. It takes a lot of luck also. So what you're doing is you're giving away maybe 10 years where you're in the conversation with a chance, and if you get a little luck, you might win a couple. And you're giving that up for a scenario where you got a couple years. And you better get that luck right away, because if you don't, you've just sacrificed your future. And 3 years from now, the 49ers are going to be scrambling, looking to see where they can get a quarterback. Is that more fair?
Yeah.
Because let's face it, he could come in there, and both your left tackle and your right tackle could go down right away. Miss 6 games, And even if he's playing well, all of a sudden you're 2-4. Next thing you know, you're traveling in New Orleans or Minnesota in the playoffs. You lose a close game. Maybe Brady gets hurt, whatever. But there's so many things that got to go right to win a Super Bowl. I think it is absolutely crazy to put all your eggs in one basket on a 42 or 43-year-old quarterback right now, especially when you got a guy that's like 25 that has a decade in front of him who played his ass off most of the year and got you to the Super Bowl. And you had a 10-point lead with less than 10 minutes left. So that's all I'm saying there. Is this seems like it's a huge reach. It seems like a desperation move by a team that should be nowhere near desperate. How about that?
No, I agree with that. And one more thing on the whole Tom situation. He wouldn't play against the Jets, Bills, and Dolphins anymore. You're going to get Russell Wilson, you're going to get Jared Goff, and you're going to get an up-and-coming Kyler Murray, probably one of the toughest divisions in football.
No, I don't think it is. But I think you've got Seattle with Russell Wilson. But the Cardinals, they got a lot of work to do to be contenders.
But are they
and the Rams are dead in the water.
Are they not a tougher out than the Jets?
No, not anymore. If the Jets do the free agency thing right, I think the Jets could have overtaken the Patriots anyways. I think the Bills are close to it if they make a couple right moves. And I think the Dolphins, from what we saw last year and as hard as they played for Brian Flores, I really think 3 years from now, I think the NFC East is better. Or the AFC East is better than the NFC West. Because I don't even think 3 years from now Sean McVay is going to be in L.A. I think they're going to have a different coach. I think Seattle will always be good because they got Russell Wilson. The Cardinals, I like Kyler Murray. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury is the answer. I don't think that team's a big threat. So I think if you're the 49ers, the only threat you have going into next year is Seattle. I think in the AFC East, I think the Bills and Jets are both threats. I'm pretty sure we watched the Bills go just as far in the playoffs as the Patriots did. And the Jets were 7-9 and won what? 5 of their last 7 games once Sam Darnold was healthy. So I don't think there's any way to say that at all. The best division of football will probably be the AFC North because you'll have Joe Burrow, the greatest quarterback that's ever lived.
Oh, I'd still rather play against those AFC East teams than Russell Wilson twice a year. No matter how you slice it. There's no Russell Wilson in that division.
There's not. But there's no Sean McVay in it either. Or Cliff Kingsbury.
There's Adam Gase.
Yeah, there's Adam Gase. Well, okay, maybe there is a Sean McVay if he had crazy eyes. But, all right. Is there anything else? The Cincinnati Bengals said that they're going to go deep into free agency this year and get after it. Do you believe that, Anthony?
I'll believe it when I see it because I don't feel like Cincinnati's ever really been that busy in free agency.
They never have. Ever. They get the second-tier guys. They're $44 million under the cap, and if they move on from Andy Dalton's $17.5 million contract, there actually is the money there to do it. But the Bengals generally have always spent their money on their own players, if you know what I mean. So, and the other thing is this. You got to have guys that are willing to come to Cincinnati. And that's an issue also, Sam.
Yeah, because I know you and I both, you're a fan of the Bengals, I'm a fan of the Steelers. So we've seen this before where the Bengals just generally don't make a big splash in free agency. They're just not that team. Pittsburgh doesn't usually do it either because they usually don't have money at all to spend. But the Bengals, sometimes they have the opportunities to do it, and they just don't get guys.
Yeah. So, we got any other news we want to talk about? The Tom Brady debate went 30 minutes. So, I don't know. Anthony, is there anything else out there? Because nobody cares about Dak Prescott.
Nothing too significant.
All right. Sam, anything else?
The only thing that really popped up the last couple of days was the Jaguars trading A.J. Bouye to the Bengals for a 4th-round pick.
To the Bengals? You mean the Broncos?
Broncos, sorry.
Yeah, I thought we just went over this. The Bengals don't do things like that.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. You got me thinking Joe Burrow in Cincinnati.
Yeah, everybody is, because you're thinking about being a Bengals fan, too, just because Joe Burrow's going to be there. And, yeah, A.J. Boye was traded to the Denver Broncos for a fourth-round pick. That, I assume, is safe to say it's a cap space clearing move, correct, Sam?
Yeah, you get someone away, Jacksonville. And for Denver, you feel a need because the Broncos were a team that could have picked a cornerback maybe in the first round if they were available. So they're going to be losing Chris Harris. Now, if you're Denver, you probably stick with Bryce Callahan and A.J. Boye for this next year.
All right. And where do you think Trevor Siemian ends up, Anthony?
Trevor Siemian?
You think he could back up Tom Brady in San Francisco if that works out?
Possibly.
There you go. All right, Mike Adams retired after 16 seasons also. But other than that, I don't have anything else, guys. So you guys want to tell us where they can find you at, Sam?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at Sam_Teets33. I post articles there regularly, so feel free to go check those out.
Anthony?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at The Real NFL Guru, and you can follow the show at the FF Face Off, and we can be found at all the top social media and podcast platforms.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap it up for today. We will be back tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I also want to remind everybody we have a new Legends of Hoosier Hysteria. Talk a little Indiana high school basketball tonight. Our first guest will be Bobby Plump. If you watched the movie Hoosiers, he was the real-life Jimmy Chitwood that hit the shot at the buzzer to win the 1954 Indiana State High School Basketball Championship for Milan High School. Make sure you check us out there. You can follow us anywhere you find sports podcasts, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. So for now, for Sam Teets, Anthony Savino, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.